You might not be able to see right now that I'm a little anxious. My lips are quite straight, considering. Because people don't look like this all the time. And it looks like everything, not in a gross way, but like everything has gone, moved down, or like has been anchored in my face and in my body. Because my shoulders sag, my knees are like bent a little, because it's like not wanting to stand up anymore. It's heavy. So I hide it. I may look normal from the outside, but really I feel totally different on the inside.
We are so happy to have back Anna Maria Tremonti. She is an award-winning journalist and host of CBC Radio 1 morning show and The Current. But today, Anna Maria, I feel an energy here at the University of Winnipeg because pretty soon there's going to be a town hall discussing a very, very important subject for Winnipeggers and Manitobans. It's missing and murdered Indigenous women. So I guess first and foremost, start from the beginning. Why do town halls? And I know that you've had one first in Prince George. What has the reaction been?
People have been very moved by our virtual reality project. I actually watching the Highway of Tears and seeing a woman talk about her lost daughter. And what we didn't want to do solely a virtual reality presentation, we wanted to use it as a jump-off point to have a community discussion on missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. And as you know, this is a really important topic right now. And so we started in Prince George, but we always knew we wanted to come to Winnipeg. We know how critical this is for communities in Manitoba, and so this is our opportunity to have a discussion here as well.
What are some of the things, Anna Maria, the public, as a public person, what can we do? I mean, we live here, and sometimes we put up blinders of what is going on around us, and then it takes something like that, a simple 4-minute documentary, to go, oh my goodness, this is happening in our own backyard. Where do we go as a city, as citizens?
Well, I think that's up to the community to decide, but I think it's important journalistically for us to show people what's at play and to hear the full discussion. So part of that 4 minutes actually makes you understand a little better the isolation that many women feel when they are in the greatest trouble. And the other side of that is to meet someone who has actually lost someone and to sit in her living room and understand she's a mom like anyone else. And so in this community, we're going to have some of that that conversation again. We're going to meet Bernadette Smith, who has lost her sister and a couple of cousins. And we're going to talk about the people who are missing and what we know about some of them. We're also going to be talking to the police because we're focusing on the police and the relationship with the community and the police in this specific town hall. And so that becomes part of it as well, because it's how you characterize people, right? It's and everyone points to this to the murder of Tina Fontaine. Mm-hmm. And suddenly the characterization of a missing and murdered young Indigenous woman, a girl, changed. She was a girl. She was barely 15 years old. And so suddenly people looked at her differently because she wasn't labeled. She wasn't called a runaway. She wasn't called a sex worker. She wasn't called things that other people are sometimes called, even if they're not sure what they were doing or whatever. And so it's easy when you label people and they might be different to be able to see them as the other. And I think part of what we do journalistically is to make people understand that everyone's a person and their stories matter, and to give some voice to those stories, and then to look for accountability on what happens after.
Well, and you've had so many years, Anna Maria, interviewing so many people. Let's talk now about women in general. I mean, how far have we come? And, where are we going to go in the future? I just had interviewed Susan Thompson, our very first and only female mayor, and I asked, why hasn't there been another female mayor? And we're now celebrating 100 years anniversary, Nellie McClung, women's and the right to vote. How far have we come?
I think in many ways women have come a long way. We have a lot of rights now. We have the right to do a lot of things, and we can make choices on what we do. That doesn't mean people aren't marginalized, men and women, right? So in sort of the freedoms we get, other people are marginalized, and so we need to actually acknowledge that, because it's a constant it's a constant struggle, it's a constant motion for people, and some people are pulled back and some people are allowed forward. It also helps to know our history, right? A lot of, even in journalism, like you discover that people think, oh, women are just doing this. No, women have been doing journalism for 100 years, but we don't know that, right? And so it's important to know our history and know what's possible, but also a lot of things come into play, and societal things, and the marginalization of individuals and things like that stall people. So not everyone knows what's possible. And so women have come a long way, and women are very empowered, but not all women are, just like not all men are. And the stories of those people who don't have voices, but who have something important to say and to be heard, that's where we come in journalistically.
How do you do it? Every story must mean so much to you, to your heart. How do you separate the story from your own life and family?
I think a couple of things. I think it's really important. I think it's important for journalists to have a couple of things. One is real curiosity, and the other is empathy. And so even if someone's story is not your story, to be able to empathize and to be able to have them tell their story is important. I will admit to you that sometimes people tell me stories of great trauma, and it really does, it hangs with me for a while, and sometimes I can see that coming. At the same time, I'm quite privileged because I get to meet people who are willing to share their stories. And of course, as you know, not every story of trauma ends on a down note. Sometimes there are a great many people who triumph over adversity, and it's important for people to know that people do, right? It's important for people to know that there is a way to move forward, or there's a way to help people move forward. So for all of those reasons, it's not all negative, right? But it is important to hear those stories, and I think it's a privilege.
It certainly is, and I mean, you've done it for so many years. Like I said, and to quote you, be wary if someone says, I'm going to make you a star or a personality. It's not us. It's the person whom we're interviewing. You are the star, you are the personality, and we're just the ones that are telling the story. So we want to thank you so much, Anna Maria, for doing this for Winnipeggers, and hopefully you'll come back once more.
Thank you very much.
Later on Backstage 360, I sit down with two country music powerhouses, Tim Hitz and Chad Brownlee.